Welcome to Emily's Corner. Today, we'll be reading a short story by Eric Schrag, An Unforeseen Meeting. Let's begin. That was a really great trip, wasn't it, Dad? A child's voice from the back seat said excitedly. Alan Dean glanced momentarily from the road to his pregnant wife Louise in the passenger seat. He smiled and gently rubbed her now very large belly. He received an encouraging smile in response and turned his attention back to the road. "I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, Brian. What was your favorite part?" he inquired. Brian met his father's gaze in the mirror and answered, "I loved water skiing. It was hard to stand up at first, but I'm glad you made me keep trying. I would have quit if you and Mum didn't tell me not to give up." Louise chimed in. "That's a good lesson to remember, Brian. There will always be difficult things that you will face in life. Some of them might seem impossible at the time, but nothing's impossible for God. He always has his reason for putting us through hard times." It just so happened, at that very moment, she noticed a hitchhiker a little ways ahead of them, arm outstretched with thumb extended, indicating the need for a ride. Louise used the chance to further support her life lesson. "You see that man ahead? He probably thinks life's impossible right now." She turned to her husband and said, "I think we should pick him up." Alan reluctantly agreed, saying a simple prayer for protection so his family could hear. Louise respectfully waited until he'd finished, then continued. "You see, Brian, God orchestrated it so that we'd be driving by at just the right time to help him. There's a reason he's here right now, and that we're here too." Brian contemplated this briefly, but was distracted by the vibration as the tires rolled over the rubble strips lining the shoulder of the highway. The car came to a gentle stop next to the man. Alan craned his body carefully over Louise and called out the passenger side window. "Hey man, where are you headed?" "Nowhere in particular, just making my way across country," the man announced as he leaned in the window, allowing the family to get a better look at his dark, haggard face. "We'd be happy to give you a ride," Alan said cheerfully. The man reached behind his back with his right arm, but Brian couldn't see what the man brought out to show his parents. "You can just take me to the nearest gas station," the man stammered. Although Brian didn't quite know what was happening, he could sense a wave of uncomfortable fear sweep over both his parents. Louise let the man take her seat and calmly but promptly got in the back with Brian. She whispered to him, "Pray for protection, Brian, like you heard Daddy pray just before." He wasn't sure why she told him that, but Brian obeyed and said a silent prayer in his mind. Trying to ease the tension, Alan mustered up the courage to ask, "What's your name, friend?" "I'm not your friend." "But my name's Terry," the man answered. "I'm Alan. That's my wife Louise." "I don't remember that kid's name behind me," Alan joked. "Dad, I'm Brian, silly." "Oh yeah, that's my son Brian," Alan playfully confirmed. Terry turned around to look at the back seat and exclaimed, "Nice to meet you, Brian. I'm Terry. How old are you?" "I'm 9. We just had the best vacation ever. We stayed at our family's cottage for 2 weeks." "Oh yeah?" Terry asked in a more conversational tone. Brian continued enthusiastically, "Yep. We went for hikes, made a campfire, read the Bible together on the dock, and my dad taught me how to water ski." "Really? That must have been hard." "It was, but my parents encouraged me to keep trying. I learned not to give up, no matter how hard something is." "That's good advice," Terry said as he turned back around. Then he asked more sarcastically to no one in particular, "The Bible, huh? What are you guys, some kind of Christians or something?" "My mum found Jesus just after my dad left us. It was a good crutch for her. But I found alternative forms of medication to be my preferred method of coping." "Yes, we are followers of Jesus," Louise boldly proclaimed. "But he's not our crutch. He's our life." "That's great. Whatever works for you," Terry rebutted. "Did you ever read the Bible for yourself?" Alan asked. "It could change your life." Terry guffawed. "Please. You believe that book of myths and fairy tales could change someone's life? It didn't change my mum's life. It just made her more judgmental. She said that because she loved me more and wanted my life to change for the better." A few minutes of silence passed. Then Terry blurted out, "There's a truck stop at the next exit. Stop there." Alan complied and followed the signs to the truck stop. After parking between two giant semi-trucks, Alan looked into the rear-view mirror at his wife and requested, "Why don't you guys go inside and use the bathroom? I'll catch up in a bit." Brian walked hand in hand with his mum into the store. He heard her say softly, "Please, save him, Lord." The way it was phrased made it unclear who she was talking about. Several anxious minutes followed as mother and child went to the bathroom and then wandered around the store. Finally, Louise commented nervously, "Let's see how Daddy and Terry are doing. They sure are taking a long time." As they made their way back to the car, Louise saw a dark shape lying on the ground under one of the massive truck tires. Her heart sank, and she hastened her pace when she saw it. It was the bloodied, discarded body of her husband. He'd been stabbed multiple times and left for dead. A set of tire marks stained the place where their car used to be. She ran over, threw herself on the body and applied pressure to the bleeding wound. Holding Alan's head in her lap and wailing profusely, she managed to choke out, "Alan, no! God, please help us! Somebody help!" Brian just stared in utter shock and horror, traumatized by the thought that he was looking at his father lying dead in the arms of his hysterical mother. Part 2. Several years later. A thundering voice echoed through the concrete hallway as a prison guard made his way to the cell. "Who is it?" the man in the cell asked. "I don't know, some teenager. Says he knows you," the guard replied as he began to unlock the gate. "Hands," he demanded, and locked a pair of handcuffs around the man's wrists. Chains clinked as the prisoner was seated in front of a large pane of glass that looked like a bank teller's window. The young man on the opposite side of the glass took a deep breath before speaking. "Hello, Terry. Do you remember me?" No. Wait, you're not here to tell me I'm your dad, are you?" he arrogantly replied. "No, but you knew my dad," the straight-faced teen stated, waiting for recognition to kick in. "You're that kid, aren't you? Brian, right? Hey, man, if you're here to make me feel guilty for what I did, no, Terry. I'm here to get something off my chest. I've been struggling with pent-up anger and resentment towards you for a long time. I came here to tell you that I'm sorry for that." And Brian took another deep breath without taking his eyes from Terry's. "I forgive you for what you did." Terry's eyebrows furrowed in a look of stupefied curiosity. "What? Why would you do that? How can you do that? I killed your dad." Brian's eyes glistened with tears as he answered, "Yes, but that's not all you did. You may remember that my mum was pregnant at the time. Well, due to the stress and heartache of the situation, she lost the baby and ended up having a nervous breakdown. My human nature wants to hate you, but I'm commanded to love my enemies and forgive those who hurt me. If I truly claim to be a follower of Jesus, I need to do those things, no matter how difficult they are." "That's crazy. You're crazy. Look, I'm really sorry about your family, but are we done here?" Terry asked, exasperated and guilt-ridden at the thought of further damage he had caused. "Sure. I made my peace. I said what I wanted to say, and believe it or not, I meant it. I want you to have this." Brian concluded by handing the guard a book. The guard leafed through it first, then gave it to Terry, who scoffed. "Are you kidding me? You really are relentless. A Bible? Seriously? Please, read it. Start in John, then read Romans. They'll help you understand how I could forgive you. Even after what you did to my family, hopefully, it'll help you forgive yourself. I'll be praying that you'll understand what you read and your life will be changed, just like your mother wanted for you all those years ago." "Yeah, whatever, thanks," Terry said spitefully and stood up to leave. "I'll see you later, Terry," Brian remarked as he watched him walk out of the room. Part 3. That night, Terry couldn't sleep. Troubling thoughts swirled around in his mind. How could that kid possibly forgive me for what I did? I even indirectly killed a baby and put his mum in the loony bin. Man, that's messed up. And how did he remember what I said about my mum? To get his mind off it, he decided to read his gift. He searched for John in the table of contents and half-heartedly started reading. Before long, he found himself so engrossed in the story that he was already finished. Realizing he still wasn't tired, but hungry for more, he found the book of Romans and devoured that in a little less than an hour. He mulled over everything he read and silently said to himself, Jesus, I don't know how this works, but I'm sorry for what I did. I think I'm beginning to understand how Brian could forgive me. But I ask that you forgive me too. Help me believe that you died for me and that you'll save me. With those final words, he fell asleep. The next day during chow time, Terry couldn't shake the haunting thoughts from the previous day. Was he really forgiven? The answer didn't come directly. Instead, a muscular, bald-headed man did. Hey Bowman, you know what today is? The man said as he sat down next to him, his gold tooth flickering in a devious smile. Terry glanced under the table. A makeshift blade flashed in the light. It's Redemption Day, the man said softly as he thrust the shank into Terry's side. He continued stabbing until Terry slumped over in a lifeless, bloody heap. When he opened his eyes, blinding light completely surrounded him, penetrating everything. Light that seemed to comfort him, holding him like the arms of a loving mother coddling her child. He saw the silhouette of 3 figures coming toward him. What is this? Where am I? Who are you? I am Jesus, the one you put your faith in last night. You are exactly where I wanted you, the brightest of the figures responded. Overwhelming joy and absolute peace radiating from the voice and embracing him in incomprehensible love. Who are these 2? Terry asked, turning from the sheer brilliance to look at the others. This is my daughter, Grace. You never met her, but I'm sure you remember me. I'm Alan, the other man said as he reached forward and hugged Terry warmly. That was a really great trip, wasn't it, friend? The end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Details in the description below. Until next time.